Hello and welcome to this talk on attracting and retaining talent, why well-being is key. Brought to you by Reba Global in partnership with Koa Health. I'm Derek Neale. I'm a business development manager at Koa Health. Got a really great panel for you today, joined by Dr. Sophie Dix. Hello, Sophie. She is a neuroscientist and our VP of content at Koa Health. We've also got our VP of talent acquisition, Rachel Scott. Hi, Rachel. And we also are joined by our people manager, Ricardo Soares. Hey, Ricardo.
Hey.
Great. Thank you very much for being here, everyone. I wanted this talk to really be relevant for the viewer, those who are watching. Hopefully you're on an HR team or a people team, and you're probably wondering about your well-being solutions, what to do, what's working well, what should you be doing. We want you to come out of this at the end and really have a good understanding of why well-being is a key area for not only action, but investment today. This is all about making your sort of superstar talent stay with you, and also the superstar talent that's out there be attracted to you. So I've touched on it already, but there are sort of two deeply connected issues, and this is employee well-being on the one side, and then recruiting and retention on the other. We all know workplace well-being affects organizations' ability to draw in new talent, but also to help keep their staff happy, motivated, productive, keep the MVPs on your team rather than them going to the competition. Now, this is particularly critical in the post-pandemic era. We've all seen it now. Everyone's had their knee-jerk reactions to buy something for well-being on the back of COVID. But this is now where you need to separate yourself from the pack and really stand out from the crowd, because people are expecting it now. This is current employees are expecting a very solid well-being offer, and future employees are actually using this as a measurement on their matrix for scoring future potential employers. So the takeaway from all this is to keep your talent attracted and keep them. You need to make sure that mental well-being is a priority. That's enough for me talking. I'd like to now go to our experts. I'm going to start with you, Sophie. Hi, Sophie, first of all, and can you just give us an indication of why mental health is so important in the workplace today?
To be honest, that's a question that really shouldn't have to be asked, because we would never ask that question around physical health. That for decades now that we have acknowledged and recognized that physical health is important, whether this is illness or accidents. No one, if you were suffering with a cold, getting over COVID, no one would ever hesitate to say that you need some time off, you need to recover, you need to be well, or if you've broken your leg, that you need to be back on your feet, that you need to have that sort of stage progression back to work. It's also true in terms of accident prevention. We don't question that there are sort of yellow trip hazard signs, that there are ergonomic assessments to make sure that our desks are set up correctly. There's legislation around this, that companies have to do it. So really the same should be absolutely true for mental health as well, because if you're struggling with your mental health, or if you're stressed and at risk of burnout, you can't perform the same. No one is going to perform at their best, whether it's at stuff from home, whether it's to do with work, or whether it's just that you're struggling, that there needs to be this recognition and support in the workplace, both to support people who are struggling with mental health conditions, but also to prevent people becoming unwell.
That's great, Sophie. Thank you very much. Is there sort of a quick tip that you can give that people can do, right now that can help bring that trip hazard sign to the staff almost? Because this is sort of that silent thing that people are aware of, but not really sure what to do.
There is a very, very simple thing that people can do, and that's just ask, to include a conversation around how are you in one-to-ones. Of course, not everyone wants to talk about their mental health, so it should never be enforced, but there should be an open place that people can talk about their mental health if they want to. Organizations can also look at the organizational level and do sort of pulse surveys, etc., to understand what that sort of temperature of the organization is in terms of mental well-being.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sophie. Rachel, I'm curious if you had any thoughts on this, why mental health is so important in the workplace.
Absolutely. I completely agree with Sophie. And I think people are now thinking about their mental health in the same way as their physical health, and are actively searching for a workplace that prioritises mental health too. And in fact, working in mental health support is a part of the reason that employees are attracted to Koa Health.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing for me as well. It's kind of that, knowing that we're not only doing a good thing, but we have a kind of an important doing good things for us as well, if you see what I mean. Yeah. Do you think that that's the case for a lot of our newer staff?
Oh, absolutely. I'm asked endless questions about how we support, how we do for our employees what we ask our clients to do for theirs. It's a very, very popular question. So our newbies are on the ball when it comes to mental and physical health being on the same par, I would say.
It just shows that this is definitely something that candidates are asking about. I'll come back to you later on something like that. Thanks very much, Rachel. Ricardo, I'd like to go to you next. We'll go to a new question here. Have you seen how kind of mental health affects retention, affects the culture, for better or worse? I'm curious if you have any examples or stories.
Yeah, definitely. I remember last year when COVID hit for the first time and we started like the first lockdown, which was unexpected for a lot of team members, certainly unexpected for us. We needed to leave the office and start working from home. And one of the initiatives that we did last year was to create an initiative from the people team, from the HR team, us, and we started calling all team members. We are around 100 people. Last year we were a little bit less, but what we did was we simply reached out to everyone. And through those calls, we actually found out about a couple situations, about issues. One of them was directly related to COVID, and the other one was a more like family focused sort of like issue. We wouldn't have found about those situations if we hadn't called. So by calling them and supporting the team member and even giving them resources and tools that they already have available, that was our easy way to make sure that the team felt taken care of. So that's something that we did last year. And this is something that possibly like in my prior companies, I'm sure that we wouldn't have been able to do something like this. It was something that we saw situations that needed attention and you just went for that. So I'm really happy we were able to do that. I'm really happy that it was a simple thing. And I feel like all companies can actually do this. I feel a little bit like Sophie said, we call them and we just ask, how are you? How can we support you? And that's what we did. And it worked. And I feel like the retention numbers that we have nowadays, which are above 90%, we also have NPS score that is great. It is 48. And even our engagement scores are really the highest at this point, the highest that we ever had. So I'm really happy with this initiative.
It's really impressive, especially, during this kind of half in the office, half at home sort of setup. I'm curious though, Ricardo, I'm going to push you a little bit on this because obviously we're a smaller company. I'm really curious how you would handle this if you had 50,000 staff. Is it the same process? Is it just over to you, really?
That's a great question, Derek. The thing is, because we were such a small company compared to many other are so much bigger, we were able from the HR department to single-handedly call all team members. So I called all of them. We asked the questions. We gathered the data. For bigger companies, because an HR department wouldn't be able to do all of these phone calls. So I probably would rely on the managers to do this. Like people managers in every company, they were the ones that like the easiest one to resource to. They're the ones that have like direct contacts with their team members. So if the HR department would empower the people managers to do this in every company, I feel like they would be the best ambassadors to call their direct reports and ask them. And if there was the case that the people manager wouldn't be able to do it for a variety of reasons, then the HR department could take care of that. But I think if they took the initiative, if they empower their managers, they should be able to take care of it.
Thanks, Ricardo. That whole empowerment piece goes back to what Sophie was saying before about, just ask. It's potentially that simple. You can kind of catch things that you didn't know about, and maybe it just opens up a whole new door of conversation and trust with that kind of, employee-employer relationship. Sophie, I'm actually going to throw it over to you now. Do you have any thoughts on the topic?
Yeah, I think empowerment is such a powerful thing because I think it crosses across so many different levels. We need to empower individuals to work at their own pace, at their own times, particularly in this virtual world that we live in, where, people have to juggle lives, homes and everything. I'm a single mum. I've got 3 children. And I've spent a lot of my career kind of trying to find that balance between being a mum and being a professional. And in some organizations where I've not had the flexibility, it's just it's been quite overwhelming. And I felt that I'm kind of underachieving at being a mother, underachieving professionally. And, that gets to you after a while. That does start to sort of affect how you feel about yourself and your self-esteem. So empowerment is a huge thing on many different levels, but I think most importantly is just giving people that flexibility to be able to, and trust, really, trust means a huge amount. That, if you trust employers and empower them to work how and when they want, most will deliver.
So it's so simple of a concept, isn't it? Just trust them and start treating people like adults and recognize that there's a life outside of work. It's so seemingly obvious, but I think that, on the back of all this pandemic and everything, some people have forgotten that, or try to find a tool that does it. And, it's not a simple fix necessarily, but you can do it. You can start simply. Thanks very much, Sophie. Rachel, I'm going to throw to you now as our talent acquisition specialist. I'm curious to get a kind of finger on the pulse of the market. You've got so much experience as a recruiter. Has the dial shifted at all? Are candidates now, what are they looking for when it comes to culture and benefits? Is mental well-being really a factor in their final decision?
I would say yes. I would say mental well-being is certainly a factor in their final decision. I've always been asked about culture, and however the pandemic and the mental health crisis it's caused has given those candidates who've always wanted to ask those questions previously the confidence and the vocabulary to challenge employers on how they're supporting mental health. I'd say top talent have 2 to 3 offers on the table at any one time, and most of those offers are the same in terms of standard benefits and compensation range. So candidates are looking for something a little extra that assures them that they will be supported. And unfortunately, many organisations still don't address mental health in their benefits and their culture. And this is what's really setting companies apart right now. So I would say benefits, candidates are looking for mostly around the standard health benefits, which I believe people are paying close attention to nowadays. However, they're looking for something more specific that links to well-being and mental health in a practical way. So if I could give you some examples that you'll know of, Derek, and but other people won't at Koa, we introduced our well-being days earlier in the year, which are separate from our vacation allowance and are encouraging our employees to take extra time out to recharge. And then secondly, and more recently, we introduced our individual development fund, which was originally our learning and development fund. However, we broadened this to cover other areas, such as someone putting it towards an office chair in their remote setting, and in turn, improving their health. And then finally, I would say in terms of culture, candidates are looking for an environment of understanding and a space to talk about mental health should they want to. And I'm so glad that Sophie brought up flexibility, because this is one of the more popular questions I'm asked during the interview process. It's around flexibility in terms of working hours and also location. So when thinking about this, at a former workplace of mine, we weren't able to offer employees the flexibility they needed or that trust that Sophie mentioned to work in their own style. And this directly affected our retention. And then I noticed when joining Koa at the beginning of the year, the flexibility around working culture and the fact that we're not putting pressure on employees to return to an office is a key attraction for people wanting to join us. So I would say to attract and retain talent, an employer needs to offer a working style that fits with a remote or a partially remote setting.
You heard it here first, viewers. You heard it here first. Thanks very much, Rachel. That was great. Ricardo, I'm curious. You're also on the people team. Do you have any thoughts on the topic?
I do. The thing is, I'm totally on board with Rachel, because I feel like we are very fortunate to have the benefits package we have nowadays and the rewards that we have. And I feel like one of the reasons we were able to get that is because we were always engaging with the team. So because the team engagement scores are really high, because we were in constant communication. And by communicating with them and they can getting back, we were able to understand what benefits they would prefer and they would like. So that would also help to cater to the candidates applying to our company as well. And one of the things you already said, for example, the well-being days and the fund, we made those changes through conversations with the team. So I believe that taking care of mental well-being and having team engaged that will allow us to make the right decisions when it came to pick the right rewards and the right benefits. So I feel like nowadays all of them are kind of all connected in one same cycle, and it kind of was pushed a little bit by the pandemic and the needs to adapt. And I feel like nowadays we're just collecting the fruits from what we did in the past.
It's a big kind of puzzle, isn't it? You got you're keeping your staff well, you got the EVP offer, it all kind of works around. And then at the end of the day, you get more results out of your team as well. It's sort of this amazing circle that just keeps on giving. So yeah, it's really nice to be part of that at Koa. Sophie, do you have any sort of final thoughts on the topic?
I'd just like to sort of mention a little bit about what organisations can do and what's important to look for when choosing what support they might give around mental well-being. I think the first thing is to acknowledge that there's no one size fits all, that there are different things that will work for different people. We're all individuals and we all respond and have different preferences. The key thing, though, is that these are evidence-based. As mental health has risen up the agenda, as it quite rightly should, that it's become a little bit of a free-for-all out there, that I think organisations and businesses have recognised a bit of a business opportunity. So there's a lot there out on the market. And the key thing is to choose something that's been shown to work, and choose something that's been shown to work through science and controlled studies. Because anything else that you choose is fundamentally snake oil. And it's really important, therefore, to get the right thing for your employees and to have a range of offerings.
Thanks, Sophie. You're doing my job for me. This is great. This is why I love Koa Health, because we've done it properly. We've kind of said, here's the problem, here's the solution, but let's not just say that. Let's prove it. Let's make sure we do the research around it. Let's make sure we're science-based. Let's make sure we're accessible and personalized. And this is the exciting thing for me, is being part of this kind of exciting tech company that's in the mental health space, but it's also doing it the right way. It's like, it's the perfect example of how things should be done. Yeah, so really excited to be part of that. That's unfortunately all the time we have for today. Thank you so much, Koa panel. You guys have been amazing. It's always great to see you and spend some time with you. I hope that you watching this have been informed, and you have some great ideas, and you're going to take them back to your companies now and really put something together that you can kind of impact from tonight or tomorrow. The kind of takeaway for me, the real session comes down to two points. One is, well-being is not going anywhere. It's a super relevant factor. And the second point is, in attracting and recruiting and maintaining your talent, you need to have this as a part of the conversation. If you would like to get in touch about how we can help Koa Health with your employee mental well-being strategy, please feel free to reach out to myself or anyone else on the panel. We'd be more than happy to talk to you. Thank you very much. Make sure you do something well for yourself tonight that's going to improve your well-being. Thanks very much. Have a good night.